Where did the Joe Budden riff come from? Like, has it always been like that? Was there a time you guys were cool?
We actually have an interview. I went to his house at one point. Well, not like to his like area, like plaza where he was living in Jersey, and we did an interview with him early in my career. This was around like 2008, and then I think what had happened was the ransom situation happened.
Right, which very few people remember that.
You got to
these days.
really go back to that, but basically it was like Joe Budden and this other rapper from New Jersey named Ransom, who was known but wasn't as big as Joe Budden, had no hits. He didn't have a Pump It Up.
And who I just want to say was hard. Ransom, I really liked Ransom a lot at that time.
He's dope. And I mean, to make somewhat of a long story short, essentially Joe Budden was on his own YouTube channel and he was dissing Ransom. So we hit up Ransom and say, hey, do you want to respond to this? He's like, hell yeah. And he did his big response, and in the response, it got real personal with Joe. He was saying things about, Tahiri and then things like that. And then Joe saw that and got mad and went to Ransom's block and I guess tried to jump him. And I guess someone fired a gun, and then Joe Budden did another video bragging about that. And then Ransom ended up going to like Joe Budden's man's house and ended up slapping him on his front porch, and he gave us the video, and we put that video out, and that just went super viral, like imagine like the biggest viral video right now back then.
And it was just Joe's friend, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't even Joe, but it was Ransom. Yeah. Ransom was the one that actually did the video and was in the video and so forth like that.
And this was like the kind of thing that just did not happen at that time on the hip hop internets yet. This is like
just did not.
This was very new.
This was very new. Like Twitter was new, YouTube was new. People like to, and I think that situation embarrassed Joe. And I think that there were some other situations over time of interviews that I did and content that I created that embarrassed Joe as well. And Joe couldn't do anything about it. All he could do was just get angry and talk a bunch of shit about me, but he couldn't actually do anything about it. And I think that kind of enraged him. And so it kind of started a bit of a back and forth that went on kind of forever, And at one point, like, you get to a certain point in your life and you say, am I just gonna keep beefing with people forever? Like I remember me and Crooked I kind of had a bad situation that happened. There was a shooting video that we put up where he got shot. I didn't realize he got shot, but there was a shooting and a video. We put it up, he asked to take it down. We said no, and then he got really angry, and then he like dissed me on the Slaughterhouse album. But I remember calling up Royce and saying, hey, look, I wanna apologize to Crooked, and just pass that message along to him. If he wants to get on the phone, cool. If not, if he still hates me, I got it. It's cool. I'm just letting him know that I apologize. And we got on the phone and we hashed it out. And he apologized for some things he said, and he kind of explained the situation to me more in depth. And I'm like, yeah, something, I probably shouldn't have put it out. I didn't even realize you got shot, but I can understand your mother seeing it and stuff like that. And we're actually friends to this day. Like we had lunch. A couple months ago before the pandemic starts. We talk on a regular basis. And I remember hitting up a couple people, like I think academics. I'm like, hey, tell Joe, listen, man, I apologize for the things I did that fucked you up, that made you lose money or made you look bad or whatever else. I had a new outlet. I was trying to push it. I didn't care. I was really like, fuck everybody, and I don't care the repercussions of what I do, and I just put everything out and went hard on anything and anyone who went back at me. I would, bring their girlfriends on and talk about them and do whatever else. But like, listen, I'm wrong for that, and let Joe know that I apologize for things I did. If he wants to talk about it, cool. If not, whatever. And the response I got was, keep that same energy when you see me. Joe's still mad at me.
Really?
And that's cool. He's probably going to be mad at me forever. The funny part is that maybe about 6 months ago, we were outside of the strip club in New York, like over by the back door. I forgot which one it was.
I've never been to any of them, so.
Yeah, but like my son was with me that day, but he was actually by the car, and I was with my man.
And this is a recent story or an old story?
Maybe like 9 months ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we were in New York.
Vlad in a New York City strip club with my son running into Joe Budden sounds like an old story. Okay.
We're standing, maybe about 9 months ago or so, and we're by the back door, and the door opens, and Joe Budden and his driver walk right past us. And I'm sitting there, and I'm with my man, like the dude that killed someone with his bare hands, right? Like that guy. And he walks by, and I'm like, oh shit, it's Joe Budden. Like, I haven't seen him in years. And I'm like, he walks by, then he's in the car for a while, and I'm like, he's in the car for like 15 minutes. So I'm like, okay, I know he sees me now. 'Cause I'm right here in front of the,
Right.
I'm just literally like right here in front of the strip club. He never comes out. And I was just like, this would be this is an interesting opportunity for us to talk. But I wasn't gonna go knock on the door or whatever else.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty sure he saw me, but he didn't want to talk at that point. So people have this whole bravado. Oh, when I see him, I'm gonna fuck him up. Blah, blah, but when I'm out, I'm pretty well protected.
Right.
I think a lot of people like to talk, and a lot of people like to say, this is gonna happen, that's gonna happen. But then when they actually get in that situation, they see the other people involved in this particular situation, most people don't really want those problems. They'd rather go do their podcast and talk.
It's pretty crazy that like 10 years later, you guys have very similar jobs. Whereas at the time, he was a rapper that was just like in this crazy street beef that you were just documenting.
Yeah, no, it's funny because ultimately, Joe ended up doing what I do, right? We started out with him being a rapper.
And
12 years
you're the
ago.
person that people are talking about, and then time goes by. He's still that, but it's mostly him commentating.
He doesn't rap anymore.
No, but he's still like the person that people are talking about, regardless of if they're talking about him talking about other people.
He does what I do now. Like, that's his job now. He does what I do. And it's almost like you kind of get, sometimes people don't want to see a mirror to themselves. It's like, oh, no, I'm nothing like Vlad. Well, what you do is pretty much what I do. You talk about current situations. You get popular when you have more of an abrasive tone in terms of what you do, right? Like the Migos situation, right? So we do the same thing. And shout out to Joe. Joe ever wants to get on the phone with me and talk, I have no ill feelings towards him at all. At all. I'm actually proud of his Spotify deal. He's always high on the podcast charts. I think he managed to reinvent himself. There's lots of rappers from his era that are struggling right now, trying to, not getting shows right now and trying to figure out how to pay their rent, trying to how to feed their families. He's doing well right now. He reinvented himself. I thought Everyday Struggle was a dope show that, was really based on his framework. He went on, did the Joe Budden podcast. He's got the Revolt thing. I think what he's doing is great, and I have no ill will towards him at all, but I think that he's still mad at me based on everything I've always heard. Because I've already said, and on top of that, I told my staff not to cover him anymore, not as a animosity thing, but as okay, if we cover him, he's gonna take it as we're bashing him. So let's just not cover him at all, so he has no reason to think that we're bashing him. Like, if you literally look on Vlad TV, you will not see a Joe Budden post in like 5 years when he's been in the news. Lots of times.
You skipped Migos Gate.
Skipped it.
Wow.
Skipped it.
It's a lot of self-control.
Yeah, skipped it. Even though I knew it would get a ton of views. I just skipped it. But it was just because of those things, because I was just tired of like, I would post something, he'd get mad, and he'd say something about me, and he'd say he'd want to fight me or some nonsense like that. And then I would do some other shit to piss him off, or I would say something about him and so forth. But it's just like, yo, like, come on, man. I'm gonna be 47 in a few days. He is like what, 40 or something? Like we got families, we got successful businesses, and if you really look, and I'm sure Joe's gonna say I don't give a shit about this, but like when you look at my relationship with you, we both have gained by being cool with each other as opposed to competing with each other. You and I could have easily said, fuck that other guy. He's my competition. I'm gonna just bash him every time I can. I could, yeah, no jumper. Oh, they just copy me, and he's trying to be me, and just a bunch of nonsense that's not true. I could totally just bash you every chance I get, and we could be enemies, and we could make a little bit of money off the views from the beef or whatever, or we could say there's plenty of room for both of us. There's billions of people out there. We have no shortage of fans that want to watch our shit. Let's be cool with each other. And if I have some sort of business thing that I think you could benefit off of, I'll tell you about it. And if I need a contact of someone you've interviewed, you'll give me that contact, and vice versa. And if I can, what I mean? And this is how you and I have been rolling. And I feel like you and I have made more money being cool with each other as opposed to being enemies. So I've always been it's always been kind of weird to me why some people like a Joe would prefer to just be enemies forever, because I could help him out and he could help me out. We could both probably make an extra $1 million by just being cool with each other. But it's not everyone thinks the same way. Not everyone's really just purely about business and could put personal feelings aside and try to get over things.
Do you think there is a little bit of a code where media personalities kind of don't go at each other or document each other? Like you see the actual beefs, but I've had that conversation with academics before where he told me that he didn't really like to cover people in the media super hard because he felt like there's a degree to which, it's so easy as media personalities to sort of shape narratives around people that you should kind of avoid it. And then I ended up feeling kind of bad because I interviewed Selena Powell, and she basically told me a story about her fucking 6'9", and it was according to academics, it was a situation where basically like he brought her around 6'9", and then 6'9" ended up fucking her, and it was just whatever because he just didn't care. According to her, and the way she tried to shape the narrative of that story, she made it sound like it was some kind of weird freak thing where academics was like hyped on 6'9" fucking her or whatever, and
okay.
I know he wasn't happy about that, and I ended up feeling kind of bad about it because it's like, we are both media personalities, we're supposed to be cool, and then she comes on here and basically like tells a story that, while technically true, was basically just like adding this different narrative. And then like, I've had situations recently like where one academics' like most recent ex-girlfriend hit me up trying to do the podcast, and I was just like, we don't really have anything to talk about besides the fact that you dated this guy. So I'm going to pass just because it kind of feels like, as us both being media personalities, it just sort of feels kind of odd to cover that.
No, I feel you. I mean, Q from Worldstarr didn't like me, at the time that he died. We had interviewed Cat Stacks about his story. And, to be fair, before doing the interview, because me and him were really cool at one point. Like before we had these websites, he was actually booking tours for me in Australia. And,
oh, wow.
And, Bahrain and stuff like that. And he went on tour with me. We'd mess with girls in the same hotel room. And, it was like, that was my man. And once we started competing companies, he kind of didn't really like me that much. And we kind of became cool. But then the Cat Stacks interview happened. But I remember I reached out to them and said, hey, listen, we're going to do this interview. Are y'all okay with it? And they said they're okay with it. But then when it came out, they weren't okay with it. So it's, I don't know. You have your responsibilities to your audience. You have your responsibility to your business connections. You have your responsibility to your friends. You have responsibility to your family. It's all a balancing act. It's all a balancing act. But I try to be cool with people that have been cool with me to the best of my ability. But sometimes certain things got to fly.
It's a weird decision-making process, too, because, like, throwing it back to that Joe Budden and Ransom situation, it's like Joe is going to be the person in that situation, which, again, is like over 10 years old, but he's going to be the person in that story that doesn't want to do a million interviews about it, whereas the person who's less known is going to be the person that is down to do 10 interviews about it, and they're going to tell you all a bunch of other stuff and everything.
Yeah.
So it's very easy for you to sort of soil your relationship with the star of the show by doing content that will certainly perform well with all kinds of B-level players in the story. Like realistically, if you wanted to like get Joe Budden viewers to watch your content. You can interview some guy I went to high school with. You can interview all kinds of different people you don't like that he used to rap with. Some girls that got stories saying, oh, he did this, and this. There's a million things you could do if you're willing to just sort of like sub in all the B team players for the A-lister content.
You could do a lot. I mean, we just interviewed Billy Otto and Seiko Billy.
Right.
Which you did an interview as well, you know, about the 6ix9ine story. And it got millions of views.
Yeah, same. People were overjoyed to see that content, apparently.
Yeah, no, it got a lot of views, and you could always, I mean, how many Tupac-related interviews have I done? Probably more than any other human being on Earth. You know, but at the end of the day, what are you going to do? Some people will just never be cool with each other, and that's fine. You know, like the only thing that Joe has said that somewhat annoyed me was that on this podcast he said, well, and I heard that Vlad's platform has been decreasing year after year, so that, you know, I'm glad for that. And I'm like, that is so completely false. Like, that is so we had like a 50-something% increase last year and the year before. Like, we hit 4 million subscribers. We did 800 million views last year on our YouTube channel. Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Okay, if you want to say something about me, go ahead and say something, but don't just make up, you know, false stats because someone told you, you know, look it up.
It's just because it would take you like 2 minutes to go on Social Blade and be like,
What's up, y'all? It's Vlad from Vlad TV. Make sure you check out my full interview on No Jumper.